Hello SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded. I still haven't quite finished it, but a while back I did a series on the pentagram and essentially the esoteric information contained therein. And this one will be on the pentagram and musical connections. You'll find there's more than a few people out there who'll literally say that geometry is satanic or the pentagram is satanic. I would call this BS. Because the fact is that the universe is geometric. The pentagon includes the divine proportion, which is so important to, well, defining so much of nature. I can essentially destroy this evil geometry pentagram argument because it is built into nature. Therefore, if it is satanic, therefore creation is satanic, and therefore existence is satanic. So you can just really, this is just absolute nonsense spread by people who know nothing about nature, geometry, mathematics, astronomy, or all these other aspects. But let's get on to it. So, previous episodes in this series, which I did a while back, you can follow it. I'll put the link to the playlist in the description. The importance of the pentagram in nature, in geometry, in the connections Earth, Sun, Moon, also systems of weights and measure, beautiful number systems, golden ratio, sacred and ancient, modern and ancient science, systems of weights and measure, religion and mysticism, the connections with the hexagon, connections, well, so many connections, time. But what we have is here we have a pentagram with the 1 point facing upwards. So we have 360 or 0 degrees, 72 degrees, 144, 216, 288. These beautiful harmonic numbers. Now, if we include the inverted pentagram, which again is often, satanic, what we have is 36, 108, 180, 252, 324 degrees. These are just so important numbers. Even the angles in trigonometry, again connecting to the golden proportion, the divine proportion 5, a golden number, and it is measurable, testable. It brings up a lot of questions about the origins of a 360 degree compass as well. But connections to modern and ancient architecture, modern and ancient systems of weights and measures, just generally speaking, sacred number, and those types of aspects. Now, some recent videos on 666, 333, 288, I brought up the 345 triangle and how important that is in esoteric tradition. Architects going back a while. This will be most famous by Freemasons, but Freemasons, as most people know them now, are only, would be a little over 300 years old, but this is actually a much older system, going back to the craft guilds, actually going back to the Platonics and the Pythagoreans. It's the same 345 triangles you'll find in not just the Great Pyramid, but in Khafre's pyramid and so many other pyramids. You'll find it in all sorts of Karnak in France and so many other places. It's a beautiful, the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, is you cannot emphasize the importance of this enough to the development of science and so many other implications. But the 345 triangle in some recent videos brought up the point about 216, 288 and 360 as these ratios. So 288, 216 could go on infinitum in regards to that, but that brings us back to 360, 288, 216 and the angles of the pentagram. Which brings us, so when I originally did this pentagram video, Spacecreatorband, who's very much into his music, was pointing out there are some so there seems to be like a pattern of ratio between these numbers and it sort of falls apart, and it was a curiosity to him and he brought it up and it was, yeah, that's it. Very interesting, these ratios that's going on in there. And then in the recent videos, 216, 288, 666 and etc., it struck him that there is a connection. So it's a screenshot of some of the comments in regards to the 345 or Pythagorean triplets, such as a 5, 12, 13, and then it's, well, yeah, and now brings us back to these pentagram angles, and actually connects to other regular polygons as well, but especially the pentagram being the nicest one. So there we have again the angles of the pentagram or the inverted pentagram, and these unusual, there seems to be a pattern of ratios and it sort of falls apart. And here is a screenshot, so I'm going to put this link in the description, what he noticed about, and then it was after that, it's, yeah, he left a comment, and it's, yeah, well, he, you know, you do your math, you do your geometry, and there's something to this. And what did he find? Beautiful. Well, this would also connect to music. This would actually also connect to systems of weights and measure, ancient ones as well, but the proportions of them. So just as in the Pythagoreans, they saw no separation between astronomy, geometry, arithmetic, and music. The old system, the quadrivium, or the seven liberal arts, but especially the quadrivium, was a system of a holistic system where subjects were connected to one another. By that I mean, if you learn astronomy, by accident you learn music. If you learn music, by accident you learn arithmetic, and by arithmetic, by accident you learn geometry. That there are these proportions in there. And now, again, if you're familiar with this channel, I'm really into my ancient weights and measure the proportions between them, and all the geometric, arithmetic, astronomical, and musical connections between them are mathematically sound. You can measure it, and with that measurement you find similar aspects, but also the sacred numbers, which you will find in both modern and ancient architecture, embedded in multiple sets of ancient units of measurement. The proportions of these ancient temples, cathedrals, are very musical, they're very astronomical, they're very mathematical, and they're very astronomical, even archaeoastronomy, the astronomical alignments of these things. And what it goes to is that amongst the other regular polygons as well, but especially the beauty of the pentagram and these divisions of there. Now, the pentagram divides into 36, 36, 36, 36. So this upright and upside down pentagram divides the compass into 10 units, which is the decans which were used by ancient Egyptians. The way they divided their calendar and their constellations. And it is measurable, testable, repeatable, and it goes back. And so there is no smoking gun ancient document with a nice ISBN number, logged into some ancient library, which says, well, here is the connections. However, the architecture, the systems of weights and measurements, the math, the geometry, consistently, repeatedly coincide with one another to show that what's old is new again. And unfortunately we lose so much because, for instance, the Americans have said that they're not on the metric scale. Well, the Americans are actually on the metric scale, just that their units are defined by metric measurements. So the actual metric is from where the Americans get their imperial scale, as where the old English, in air quotes, imperial, is defined by another. But anyway, it's actually all connected. The meter is essentially forms a 1 second pendulum. The clock that we use, 24 hours per day, 60 minutes per hour, 60 seconds per minute, therefore 3,600 seconds per hour, or 86,400 seconds. The metric system, through the pendulum, which is defined by physics, connects to the time system, and the time, fortunately, we haven't had our clock. We haven't lost the clock and the important measurement systems in there, measuring time, measuring distance. Anyway, this all connects, and so I'll put this link in here in the description. I'll put Spacecreatorband's YouTube channel as well in description. Apart from the music, he's also recently uploaded Wally Wallington, and how you can how a single man can move mountains with a little bit of knowledge in regards to physics and shifting measurement. An understanding of the basics of mechanical advantage. One man moving massive stones. Okay, that's off topic anyway. but these connections, so music, I'll put the link to his page there where he's also talking about pentagonal geometry and the connections to music. And yeah, Pentagram Music, I'll drop the link to the fuller series on the pentagram and its connections to astronomy, music, arithmetic, geometry, multiple dimensions, systems, weights and measurements, etc., etc. And it's if anyone tells you the pentagram is demonic, satanic, or whatever, laugh in their face, because they don't know what they're talking about. It's actually defined by nature. Now, I'm not a religious person, but if you are of that particular bent, nature is defined by creation. Creation is a divine thing. Therefore, anyone who says that geometry or the pentagram is satanic is actually involved in blasphemy. Let's put it that way. That's not the way that I see the world, but if they want to promote that, well, it's ridiculous. Thoroughly ridiculous. It's BS, pure BS. And you can find it repeated. It's measurable, testable. Therefore, the clock is demonic. Therefore, the 360-degree compass is demonic. Therefore, the 12-inch per foot ruler is demonic. Therefore, basically everything, sunflowers are demonic. Everything is demonic. Everything is satanic, except for the people who spout this BS. Anyway, measurable, testable, beautiful set of systems. These are the natural rules of nature. Things such as the 3-4-5 triangle, Pythagorean theorem, have liberated us from ignorance and have allowed us to achieve so much. And, well, systems of weights and measure, hermeticism. So all these links I'll post in the description. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Geometry, it's a thing. Cheers.